Welcome to week 6. We're talking about art and the media this week. I want to apologize. I didn't get this up yesterday. I completely lost my voice and it's pretty much back today. So I apologize again for that. And I also apologize that some of the videos weren't working and for some reason this 8-week session has been the session that all those videos have decided to expire on me, and I've had to update the links. So I apologize about that. I'm going to go over the next couple weeks and make sure they're all working now. They just seem to keep going out on me. But I'm making sure that I get the information that you need. Be looking for your week 5 work, of course, by Friday at the latest. Let me know if you have any questions about grades so far. And here we go into week 6. Guess what? We've read the book at this point pretty much. So there's not a lot of reading left to do. We have lecture material. We're talking about art in the media this week. So when we get into our lecture, of course, download the lecture slides as usual. Moderate list of vocabulary going on. And this is about evolution of a message. So we're going to talk in lecture mostly about the way that artists have worked in culture kind of from the beginning and how that's changed. And so it's a really interesting lecture. We're going to talk about the idea of avant-garde and commercialism and modernism. So there's some kind of interesting theoretical concepts going on this week. I think it's a pretty interesting lecture. We've got some really interesting artists that we're looking at this week as well. So I'd like you to explore the website of contemporary Christian artist Makoto Fujimura for your Artist of the Week, and you do have questions due this week for him. Go ahead and watch any video clips you find on his website. So it's pretty straightforward. There's one right there on the front cover. I think if you hit on works and if you go to his different series, for example, the 4 gospel front pieces, this is a really interesting one that he did that was on, I think, the 600th anniversary of the King James Bible, and a really interesting, beautiful series that he did. Very abstract, non-representational artist, and so I'd like you to really, when you're looking at his work, consider how does Fujimura cross cultural boundaries? He's a Japanese-American artist. How does Fujimura disrupt traditional Christian art forms in order to spread the gospel? So when we think of Christian artwork, we tend to think of something that's very representational, something pretty transparent as to what the themes are. Fujimura kind of goes in a different direction with that. So I'd like you to describe your reaction to his art. So it's going to take you going on his website, reading, go ahead and read his bio about who he is. And this is just all his curriculum vitae. So you can see he's quite an accomplished guy. Everything he's done, spoken at conferences, collaborations, productions, leadership positions, solo exhibitions, his education. I mean, just the guy's legit. So go ahead and read through that. Make sure you really take some time with his artwork. Don't just, look at one piece and make a decision. Spend some time with this guy and who he is. Really interesting, pretty cool guy. So again, use the text editor when you do these. Don't put it in the comment section. So your reflect this week is about another Asian artist named Ai Weiwei. He's a Chinese artist, and you can watch his TED Talk here. I know the link wasn't working before, and so that is fixed now. This is done as a discussion board, so you do need to make sure that you participate with your peers on this. And what I'd like you to do is answer the following questions in paragraph form. So, what makes Ai Weiwei's work so controversial? How does Weiwei use new media as an effective means of communication in his art? A lot of his art is about, law enforcement in China and how they're enforcing bans on social media and how you can communicate as a human being. And so he is actually really prevalent on social media because of that. So how do you feel about Weiwei's incarceration? He was incarcerated for, I believe, 1.5 years. And then please comment on a minimum of 2 peers' posts. And this is relatively short. It's a TED Talk, so I think it's about 11 or 12 minutes. So not very long, but really, he's a really important artist in the contemporary art world. So he's definitely someone we want to be aware of. And because we're dealing with new media this week, we are doing a collage. So kind of a fun break from all the writing that you've been doing. You are going to create an image for someone. You're going to imagine that this is for someone who has never set foot on planet Earth before. So how could you communicate a sense of what it's like to be alive here in the 21st century? So you're going to create a visual collage by combining seemingly disjointed images into one composition that describes 21st century visual culture. You should include images from as many aspects of new media as possible. So consider film, photography, graphic design, the fashion industry, the music industry, memes, social media, advertising, the news. I mean, you've got a lot of material going on right now in the world. So your collage can be done digitally by hand, two-dimensional, three-dimensional, or a combination of these. Be creative. You can incorporate different textures and materials if you'd like. You must include a minimum of 25 images in your collage. So don't give me just 10 pictures that you've just put side by side. Remember, a collage is not images just stacked next to each other. They're incorporated together. So I'd like you to make sure that you submit by scanning your photograph or collage or uploading it as an image attachment. And your file should be titled with your last name and the assignment title. So for example, Boss Collage, like that. So I've given you some inspiration. So Hannah Hawk is a really good one. She was kind of one of the first collage or photo montage artists. This is her most iconic work called Cut with a Kitchen Knife. And so if we just kind of pull that up briefly, what you can see that she's done here is, and let's actually go to that Wikipedia page, and this is such an important image here, and there we can zoom in even more on it. She's taken newspaper cutouts and she's put things together to create new images, right? So some of them are complete figures, some of them she's put the heads on different characters. You can see that she's really, I mean, there's so much to discuss here. And of course, this is very much about German culture and the Weimar Republic, that, you know, kind of right before World War II, the rise of the Nazi Party. There's a lot going on after World War I, you know, a lot of cultural disruption. And so she's commenting on a lot of that. So if you had been someone living in Berlin in, say, 1925, this would have made a lot of sense to you, what was going on. So I want you to look at what she's done and think, okay, how could I do something similar, but with, you know, the contemporary social and political issues going on. So Hannah Hawk is one example to be looking at, and you can look at a lot of the rest of her work. So you can see how she's, you know, doing these similar things where she's taking disjointed images and putting them together to make a brand new composition that is making some kind of, you know, social commentary. She was really interested in how women were represented in the media as well. So that's one example of someone I'd like you to look at for inspiration. Bruce Conner is another one, more contemporary artist, and some of his work is more considered what we call assemblage. And he also has drawings and films and all that, but he does some of these really cool photo montages where he also kind of takes disjointed images and puts them together. So here's an example. So be looking at his work for some inspiration as well. And of course, David Hockney, his collage work is really interesting. He tends to more take one full image and, you know, kind of chop it up. It's almost cubist, what he does. So you want to make sure that you're including a lot of different media, but you could kind of just look stylistically and, you know, maybe pull some inspiration from what he was doing. John Hartfield wasn't exactly doing photo collage. He's doing more what we call photo montage, where his images are a little more seamless. He was a German artist who immigrated to the US or Britain. I can't remember at this moment. And he adopted an English name, but you can see what he's done here is really quite seamless in his images. They are really controversial, of course, in the moment that he was creating them, because he was very critical of the Nazi Party and what they were doing. And so he's someone else you might want to look at for inspiration. His are definitely themed. to one kind of story. So that's something you may want to consider, just as long as you're kind of really being as creative as you can. I love this one of the kind of the face on his bum there that's going on. So there's a lot of inspiration to be taken from these photo collage, photo montage artists. So I want you to really kind of dig in and see what you can come up with here. If you don't feel like you're that creative, that's okay. Just be kind of thinking of how you can make a new image out of what you're using. So if you're really tactile, get out there, get some magazines, some newspapers. If you feel confident in digital media, then go ahead and do it. If you don't feel confident, what I don't want is a PowerPoint of just square images set next to each other on a page. I can't tell you how many of those I get, and I'm like, okay, I'm not really seeing a lot of creativity here. It didn't take much effort to kind of just copy and paste these images onto one slide. So I'm expecting some creativity here, but have fun with this. And of course, you have your quiz as usual. So we've got quiz, we've got our collage this week, your Ai Weiwei discussion reflect board. So again, remember these are brief, 2 to 3 sentences, good sentences, per bullet point there. Same thing here, just a couple of sentences for each of these. So you're not writing full essays on these, and you've got your lecture. And then we'll be moving on to week 7. Any questions about any of this, let me know. Any questions about grades so far, where you're at in the class, don't hesitate to ask, and have a great week.